Ethan Cross had expected a paperwork day, maybe a speech about interstellar harmony. Instead, he was standing outside a reinforced door labeled Containment B12, Do Not Feed the Specimen. The crew gathered behind the glass like kids at a zoo. Someone whispered, he actually signed the volunteer form. Another answered, he thought it was a personality trust workshop. Laughter rippled through the hallway. Inside, lights hummed with that expensive kind of silence that says you're insured, but not really. Ethan checked his translator, smoothed his uniform, and told himself he was a diplomat. Diplomats handled unpredictable species. They didn't hyperventilate when the airlock hissed like a hungry cat. He stepped in. Warm. Too warm. The air smelled faintly of citrus and something electric, like rain before it misbehaves. The doors sealed behind him with a heavy thunk. For a moment, only the hum of life support answered him. Then came the sound of chewing. High above, balanced on a beam, sat a girl, if girl could describe someone with feathers on her elbows and a tail that flicked like it had opinions. She was eating ration packs straight from the box, silver wrappers scattered around her like trophies. Her golden eyes met his. She froze. He froze. The translator blinked to life. Who are you? She asked, mouth full. Ambassador trainee Ethan Cross. Here for communication exchange. She tilted her head. You look edible. He swallowed hard. Most people start with hello. Hello, edible. Laughter erupted from the observation deck speaker. He could almost hear bets being updated. Ethan forced diplomacy. I've been informed you prefer minimal physical contact. Depends who's touching, she interrupted, tail curling lazily. Right. Excellent. Boundaries. She leapt from the beam. He flinched, she landed a breath away. Up close, the label feral seemed lazy. She was wild, yes, but not savage, just radiating the energy of someone who'd never heard the phrase personal space. She sniffed him. Soap. Fair. And bad coffee. I, represent humanity. Then humanity smells nervous. From the speaker, Dr. Velka's voice chimed in. Subject Azali, please refrain from predatory behavior. Azali glanced up, unimpressed. You put prey in my room. What behavior did you expect? Ethan raised his hands. Let's not use the P word. I'm here to foster trust. Trust, she repeated, tasting the syllable like candy. That mean I can touch? He hesitated. In moderation. She poked his chest with a clawed fingertip, testing, curious. Moderation feels soft. He stepped back. That's close enough. Close enough for what? The study, he blurted. Study mating. The translator crackled. Somewhere outside, a cup of coffee was spat across a console. Ethan exhaled slowly. Behavioral study. Communication patterns. She smirked. We're communicating. You're twitching. I'm amused. He sat on the floor cross-legged, pretending to take notes on his datapad just to keep his hands busy. Tell me about your culture, Azali. Eat. Sleep. Hunt. Groom. Repeat. That's concise. She crouched beside him, eyes gleaming. Yours. Meetings. Coffee. Regret. Repeat. She blinked, then laughed, a bright, trilling sound that made the translator stutter halfway through. You are funny, edible. Please stop calling me that. It's compliment. On my world, edible means appealing. Oh. Then, thanks. Don't thank me yet. He pretended not to hear that last part. Minutes passed with her circling him, asking relentless questions. Why humans wore shoes indoors, why they hid nipples, why their mating dances involved paperwork. Every answer produced a new misunderstanding. When he said, humans like privacy, she replied, you're in wrong cell then. She stole his stylus, sniffed it, and stuck it behind her ear like a trophy. Now we share scent. Friendship ritual complete. That's not, he stopped. What was the point? A hiss sounded from above, a small ration pack slid down a chute. Azali pounced, ripping it open with her teeth. Ethan caught a whiff of synthetic cocoa. "What is that?" she asked between bites. "Chocolate." Her pupils dilated. "More. It's limited supply." She leaned in close enough for him to count the faint bioluminescent freckles across her cheek. "Then share." Ethan broke the bar in half, handed her a piece. She bit delicately, then froze. "This is illegal pleasure." He chuckled. "In some countries, yes." She chewed slowly, eyes half-lidded. "Your species invents strange drugs." "It's just sugar." "Sugar," she repeated dreamily. "I like sugar." From the speakers came whispering, scientists debating whether they'd just discovered the universe's first chocolate addiction. Azali licked the remaining crumbs from her claws, then glanced at him mischievously. "Now you owe me." "For sharing chocolate." "For introducing vice." "I didn't." She stretched like a cat, wings flexing slightly, and announced, "You pay debt by letting me nap near warmth." "Define near." She pointed to his chest. "That." Ethan stared. "Absolutely not." She shrugged, curled up 2 meters away, tail flicking against his boot. "Fine. Warmth travels. I adapt." He sighed. Containment log, Day 1, no casualties, minor cultural whiplash. Her voice came drowsy. "You talk to yourself often." "It's called a report." "Report says what?" "That I'm alive." "Good. Stay that way." Minutes blurred. The heat, the faint hum, the ridiculousness of it all pressed on him until exhaustion won. He woke sometime later to the soft rhythm of breathing. She'd moved again, now halfway draped across his lap, tail curled around his knee. Not threatening, just comfortable. From the overhead MIC, someone whispered, "She's nesting." Another voice replied, "Or his doomed." Ethan decided not to move. He stared at the ceiling and muttered, "Interstellar diplomacy, bringing people together, whether they like it or not." Her ear twitched. "What?" "Nothing. Sleep." "Auredium." Silence settled. For the first time since he'd boarded the ship, Ethan felt oddly calm. Maybe it was the heat. Maybe it was the absurdity. Or maybe, he thought, humans just had a knack for surviving weird company. Outside, Dr. Velka updated the file. Day 1, subject Azali displays attachment behavior. Human subject remains intact. Recommend further observation. Inside, Ethan whispered to himself, "Great. I'm a science project with a bedtime companion." The translator blinked once more and quietly rendered her murmured alien phrase into something halfway tender: warmth shared, threat low. He didn't know what it meant exactly, but it sounded a lot like a truce. The ship's morning alarm lied. Nothing about the next 5 minutes felt routine. Ethan woke to find his uniform shirt missing and Azali standing on the bed platform like a fashion thief, sleeves hanging off her shoulders, tail lashing with the smug confidence of someone who had discovered pockets. "This is a terrible pelt," she announced, sniffing the collar. "Traps heat, collects sadness." He rubbed his eyes. "It's a shirt." She tugged the fabric tight against her ribs and gave him a look that translated as both challenge and tease. "It is now mine." He tried diplomacy. "In human culture, we ask before borrowing clothes." She leaned close, eyes bright. "In Ja culture, we test boundaries and see who pairs." The overhead MIC coughed static. Someone on the observation deck whispered, "Is pairs metaphorical?" And another whispered back, "Start a new column for metaphors." Ethan ignored the chorus and held out his hand. "I need it back." Azali sniffed his palm as if reading his biography through skin, then placed the shirt into his fingers with exaggerated care. "Fine. Keep your sadness wrap." He slid it on. She made a disappointed chirp. Still looks better on me." He discovered, to his horror, that the translator rendered his involuntary laugh as a flirt. She grinned. "Good. You have weapons after all." "Jokes aren't weapons," he said. Against bureaucracy, they are, she countered, then circled him like a critic evaluating a statue. Turn. Slowly. I must calibrate your angles. I'm not furniture, he muttered. You are presently the most interesting object in this room. He tried to steer the conversation somewhere safer. Let's do culture exchange questions. I'll go first. What does feral mean to you? Lazy label, she said without hesitation. Someone tried to pet me like a decorative beast. I corrected them. They called me feral because their ego bruises easily. He swallowed a smile. For the record, humans have many terrible instincts. Petting strangers is one of them. And yours? She asked. What do they call you? Intern, he said. Sometimes, sir, please sign here. Depends who needs a scapegoat. She considered that, tail drawing thoughtful punctuation in the air. Intern is your feral. Close enough. The ration chute clinked, another chocolate bar skidded into view. Her ears pricked. Illegal pleasure. Moderation, he warned, breaking the bar in half. She took her share like a queen accepting tribute, then melted against the wall with an expression the translator labeled devout. Your species invented portable joy and taxes in the same century, she murmured. That is suspicious. We contain multitudes, he said. She licked a crumb from her knuckle, and he looked very firmly at the floor. Explain multitudes, she said. Conflicting impulses that somehow still fit in one person. She tilted her head. Like wanting to bite and wanting to kiss. He choked. The speaker crackled from suppressed laughter. He coughed. Like wanting to follow rules and wanting to throw them out the airlock. Ah. She tapped his badge with a claw. Your rules are loud. Yours aren't. Mine whisper. Much more dangerous. She prowled a slow circle until she stood behind him, then rested her chin lightly on his shoulder. He felt the heat of her breath, and 100 cautious protocols marched through his skull in tiny boots. Trust exercise, she said softly. Stand very still and don't faint. Is fainting common in these exercises? Only in people who pretend they aren't soft. I am very soft, he said quickly, and she snorted, delighted. Admitted. She stepped back, letting the temperature between them drop a degree. Your turn. Teach me one human thing. He gestured at the narrow strip of floor. Okay. This is a boundary line. He dragged his boot to mark it. You can cross it if you ask first. She examined the scuff with theatrical seriousness, then glanced up, deadpan. Request to cross. Granted. She put one toe over the mark, then the rest of her foot, then hopped both feet across like a child winning a game no one else had agreed to play. Success, she said. Now teach me something harder. Harder? Emotional boundary. He hesitated. Humans apologize a lot, even when we're not wrong. How do you do it? You say, I'm sorry you felt hurt. She made a face. That is not apology. That is verbal dodge. He laughed. You're not wrong. Show me real apology, she insisted. He folded his hands. I'm sorry you were treated like an animal. The air changed, her eyes softened, and for a moment all the jokes stepped back to give the truth some room. Accepted, she said. Now I apologize, I used your fear as a toy. It is fun, but not kind. He blinked. Accepted. The speaker went silent. Even the ship seemed to lean in. Azali clapped once, breaking the trance. Good. Now someone teach the observers to blink. As if on cue, a crewman sneezed into the MIC, swore, then cut the feed. Ethan exhaled, suddenly lighter. Progress, he said. We invented manners together. Do we get a medal? Chocolate, he said, and handed her the last square. She shook her head and pressed it back into his palm. You keep. Your blood sugar is timid. That's not how blood sugar, hush. Eat. He obeyed, and she watched with that unnervingly intimate curiosity that made everything feel both clinical and tender. Tell me a secret, she demanded. Cultural exchange continues. He thought for a moment. I hate making speeches. I practice compliments in the mirror and still sound like a malfunctioning elevator. She grinned. Your compliments today were better. I didn't compliment you. You apologized. Same energy, different flavor. He shook his head. Your turn. She paced a slow figure eight. I pretend to be stronger than I am so people do not decide things for me. He met her gaze. I can relate. We are multitudes, she said, sing-song, and the translator gave it a soft echo like a proverb learning to walk. An hour drifted by in small, ridiculous negotiations, which side of the room qualified as hers, whether his datapad was a chew toy, it was not, and if napping near warmth could be upgraded to napping on shared territory. He held his ground with the stubborn politeness that had gotten him this far in life and occasionally into terrible meetings. She respected the boundary like a cat respects a closed door, by sitting closer and humming faint notes of contentment. When the lights dimmed to orange, he sprawled on the floor with a pillow that felt like it was filled with theoretical foam. Azali chose the opposite end of the room and lay on her side, facing him, tail swishing slow approval. You forgot your nightly report, she said. Right. He cleared his throat. Containment log, day 2. Subject Azali is not feral, she's merely allergic to condescension. Human subject remains edible, with improved banter. She grinned. Addendum, chocolate is diplomacy. Absolutely. Silence gathered, comfortable this time, punctuated only by the ship's quiet breathing. He turned the pillow over twice to find the cold side and finally gave up. The whole room was warm-blooded. Ethan, she said. It was the first time she'd used his name without teasing. Yes. Request to cross boundary. He looked at the scuff line, now smudged into nothing. Which boundary? The air between us. He weighed the moment, the listeners, the 1,000 pages of guidelines, and the simple truth, trust either grows or it doesn't. Granted, he said. She moved with that gravity-defying grace and settled beside him without ceremony, careful, deliberate, a scientist of comfort taking measurements. Her head found his chest like it had been there before in a different life, her ear lined up with his heartbeat as if syncing devices. He froze, then relaxed by increments, arms hovering in a diplomatic no-man's land until she nudged his wrist with her forehead. He let his hand rest lightly along her shoulder blades, nowhere it shouldn't be, everywhere it needed to be for the moment to feel earned rather than stolen. The translator hummed quietly and, for once, stayed out of the way. From the ceiling speaker, a whisper, are they, another, more authoritative voice, they are resting. Turn off the gossip channel. The feed clicked dead. Azali's breath evened. You make good pillow, she said, words slurring with sleep. You make persuasive argument, he answered. For what? For not running away. He felt her smile against his shirt. Stay, then. I'm locked in, he said dryly. Romantics call that destiny, she murmured, and in a minute she was asleep, weight warm, tail looped across his hip like a lazy question mark. He stared at the dark, amused at the universe's sense of humor. Somewhere on the other side of the wall, bureaucrats were drafting memos about protocol and optics. In here, the optics was simple, 2 people, 1 heartbeat borrowed by another, a treaty written in the grammar of breathing. He closed his eyes and made a private note no report would carry. Humanity's strangest skill isn't surviving danger, it's finding comfort where logic says there shouldn't be any. He didn't dream, but if he had, it would have tasted faintly of chocolate and sounded like a cat laughing at a locked door that never really mattered. Ethan came awake with a start and the faint impression that someone else's dream had borrowed his brain. The cell lights were still dim to twilight, but his pulse was running as if he had sprinted through a thunderstorm. Azali sat cross-legged nearby, eyes half-lidded, feathers along her shoulders flickering with leftover static. You entered my dream, she said matter-of-factly. Next time knock. He blinked. That was real. Real enough that you drooled on a cloud that wasn't yours. She stretched, the motion full of lazy grace and quiet amusement. Most males panic after first link. You just looked confused and offered me tea. He rubbed his face. Diplomatic reflex. Then diplomacy works. I woke rested. The overhead mic clicked on. Dr. Velka's voice carried the tremor of someone juggling too many scandals. Human subject, please confirm, did telepathic contact occur? Ethan glanced at Azali. Define occur. She mouthed, say yes, so he said, possibly. Paper rustled on the other end, the universal sound of bureaucracy sweating. Understood. Maintain emotional distance until we analyze data. The channel cut off. Azali smirked. Emotional distance. That's new scientific term for flirting, yes. In some cultures, he muttered. Breakfast arrived by drone, NutriPaste that looked like beige regret. She sniffed it and pronounced it inedible sadness. He suggested chocolate, and she brightened immediately. Illegal pleasure before noon? Bold. He split the bar, half for her, half for the illusion of professionalism. She savored each bite like it was an experiment in human patience. Between mouthfuls she said, your thoughts during the link were loud. All rules and apologies. No wonder your people invented paperwork. It keeps civilization intact. So would naps and honest compliments. That system failed our first Congress, he replied dryly. They tried both at once. She laughed, a low trill that bounced off the walls. You dream in straight lines. I dream in circles. We met in the middle and argued about geometry. He smiled despite himself. Outside the cell, gossip spread faster than the ship's comms. Crew members whispered that the feral alien had domesticated her human, others claimed Ethan had tamed the wild. Somewhere between the rumors lay an awkward truth. Neither of them wanted to win that contest. The next evaluation came over intercom. Subject Azali, please perform standard empathy test. She rolled her eyes. Test number 8? Again. Required for comparative study, Velka insisted. Human will describe hypothetical distress scenario. Ethan sighed. Suppose I lost my homeworld. Azali's tone softened. Then I would help you build smaller one until it felt right again. Static silence followed. Empathy confirmed, said Velka, subdued. Proceed with observation. When the channel closed, Azali leaned closer. They call that test. We call that Tuesday conversation. Hours bled together. The confinement had turned comfortable in a strange domestic way. He fixed the translator when it hiccuped. She decorated the walls with geometric scratches that resembled art until you realized they were equations about rhythm. You hum in 5/4 time, he noted. You snore in sync, she counted. That's compatibility matrix. That's sleep deprivation. She flicked his ear. Same result. By mid-shift the gossip channel struck again. Someone in maintenance broadcast a poll titled Has the intern achieved first contact or first crush? Ethan pretended not to hear. Azali voted twice. You're enjoying this circus, he said. Of course. On my world, embarrassment is foreplay for respect. We usually start with small talk. You're terrible at small talk. True. She grinned, clearly counting that as progress. The second dream link arrived without warning. He was mid-sentence when everything folded inside out and he stood on a plane of shifting light. Her voice came from everywhere. Relax, human diplomat. No harm. He looked around. This is your mind. One corner of it. Please ignore the chaos. Shapes flickered, memories, scents, flashes of laughter. You can show me this, but you can't stop stealing my chocolate. Priorities. They drifted through fragments of memory, his first day at the academy, her first flight lesson, both equally awkward. Why show me this? He asked. Because it's what we do instead of paperwork, she said. Shared dream proves trust. Or boredom. I haven't decided which. He looked down to see his hands glowing faintly. Are we still breathing back in the cell? Yes. We're multitasking. You're terrifying. You're fascinating. She tapped his chest. You think too loudly. I can feel your heart arguing with your head. He opened his mouth to retort and the world blinked out. He woke again, same ceiling, same hum. She was staring at him, amused. You talk in sleep, she said. What did I say? You apologized to a pillow and promoted it to ambassador. Diplomatic reflex, he groaned. Your kind needs therapy, she said affectionately. My kind gets assigned containment duty instead. She flicked a small bead toward him, one of the wall carvings rolled into a circle. Souvenir. Proof you survived me. You make that sound like an achievement. It is. Most people who meet me leave running or writing poetry about fear. You stay and make jokes. It's a coping mechanism. It's charm, she corrected. The next broadcast came with static panic, containment alert, psychic resonance spike detected. They looked at each other. Azali shrugged. Probably us. Velka's voice sharpened. Confirm emotional status, both of you. Ethan answered, stable. Azali added, hungry. Specify hungry for what? Chocolate, she said sweetly. The MIC went dead. Ethan collapsed in laughter, the sound echoing off the sterile walls until even she joined in. Later, when the lights dimmed for rest cycle, they sat side by side on the floor, backs against the same wall, the distance between them measured not in centimeters but in jokes shared. You realize, he said, that if this continues, someone will write a training manual about us. Make sure they spell my name right, she replied. And yours under subtitle, human, surprisingly durable. He chuckled. I'll settle for human, still sane. Debatable, she teased. Silence stretched again, comfortable. What happens when they open the door? He asked quietly. She looked thoughtful. You'll leave. I'll get another study. Or maybe we both pretend to hate each other so they don't notice we like this. Like what? Talking. Not biting. Strange for me. Strange for me too. She nudged his shoulder. Then it's official. Cultural exchange complete. Until they give us paperwork, he said. Then we rebel. Together. Obviously. Then you've learned Ja diplomacy. She shifted closer, resting her head lightly against his arm, not quite the bold sprawl of the night before but deliberate enough to register. Still soft, she murmured. Still dangerous, he answered. Perfect balance, she said, eyes closing. The translator hummed once more, caught her last phrase, and rendered it in human words he would remember long after containment ended. Warmth shared, logic optional. Ethan smiled into the dim light. Humanity, he decided, had found yet another improbable treaty, one signed in laughter, caffeine withdrawal, and the universal language of being slightly less alone. When the cell door finally opened, it didn't feel like freedom, it felt like paperwork. Bright lights spilled in and a dozen people in lab coats froze at the sight before them, two figures half asleep on the floor, tangled in blankets, peace treaty in progress. No one spoke for 3 full seconds. Then someone coughed, another snapped a picture, and the rumor mill achieved faster than light speed. By the time Ethan and Azali stood, the entire ship knew, the Feral had a favorite human. Velka tried professionalism. Excellent results. Very, stable bonding indicators. Ethan blinked. You mean we didn't kill each other? Precisely. Diplomatic triumph. Azali stretched, feathers shimmering, and added, also good nap. The statement entered the record as non-hostile physical coexistence observed. Within hours, the footage leaked to the fleet's gossip channel under the headline Containment or Courtship. By lunch, the Interstellar News Hub had a poll. Option 1, he tamed her. Option 2, she domesticated him. Option 3, both need therapy. Option 3 won by a landslide. Ethan scrolled through headlines while security escorted them to the debrief room. You're trending, he muttered. Azali peered over his shoulder. Your journalists fear boredom more than death. They fear missing a scandal. Then let's give them one. He groaned. Please don't. She smiled like the idea had already hatched. Inside the debrief chamber, Velka paced behind a glass table. The council will want a statement. Something about cross-species empathy. Ethan rubbed his temples. Can it include the part where I almost had a nervous breakdown? No, but the part where you achieved peaceful cohabitation, yes. Azali propped her chin on her hands. I can say he smells nice. That shows empathy. Not that kind, Velka sighed. You'll stand together for one photo. No claws, no fangs, no innuendo. Both nodded solemnly, both ignored the last rule instantly. The photo session was chaos, flashbulbs, nervous aides, and an alien who kept asking if the camera stole souls. When the final image appeared, Ethan awkwardly smiling, Azali leaning in with a mischievous grin, the caption read "Peace in progress." Within an hour, memes appeared. Someone edited hearts into the background, another replaced his translator with a wedding ring. They've turned us into a love story, he said. Could be worse, she replied. They could have turned us into a documentary. Diplomatic fallout arrived next. Messages from 3 planets demanded clarification. One governor asked if feral diplomacy was an official Earth strategy. The ambassador back home sent a furious note. Explain why you are cuddling an alien on live feed. Ethan drafted 20 versions of a response and deleted them all. Azali skimmed the last draft and suggested, right, cultural accident, mutually beneficial, recommend more. That'll start a whole new program. Exactly. By evening the pair were confined again, this time to a waiting lounge with soft chairs instead of containment bars. Azali prowled the perimeter, restless. You regret? She asked. Only that I didn't read the fine print. Humans fear fine print, Ja fears silence. Then we're both doomed. She perched on the table edge. They'll send you home, yes. Probably. With a medal shaped like a punchline. And me. They'll call you rehabilitated. She snorted. They'll call me legend. First Ja to nap on human diplomat and survive paperwork. The announcement came sooner than expected, joint press conference, full broadcast. Velka prepped them like actors before opening night. Smile, nod, and avoid phrases that could be misinterpreted. Azali raised a claw. All human phrases can be misinterpreted. Exactly, so say nothing too clever. Ethan looked at her. We're doomed twice. When the cameras went live, a wall of lights blinked like judgmental stars. Ethan began carefully. Today's experiment proved that cooperation, Azali interrupted, and naps, and understanding, he corrected, can bridge any species divide. Especially soft ones, she added. Reporters erupted in laughter. Velka buried her face in her hands. The broadcast cut off 10 seconds later, but the damage was viral. Headlines the next day: Diplomacy gets cozy, Human and Ja redefine containment, and Ethan's personal favorite, Love in low gravity. He expected disciplinary review. Instead, he received promotion. Public loves you, Velka said, handing him a new badge. Apparently you're the face of interspecies empathy. I thought this was a scandal. Now it's policy. Azali clapped him on the back hard enough to rattle teeth. See? I make you famous. You make me a case study. Same thing. That night, alone in the observation lounge, he stared at the stars beyond the viewport, thousands of silent witnesses to human idiocy and luck. Footsteps approached. Azali joined him, carrying 2 cups of something that smelled like melted chocolate and caffeine. Peace treaty beverage, she said. We survived containment, we celebrate. They clinked cups. To accidents, he said. To good ones, she answered. They talked until the station lights dimmed. He asked what she'd do next. Maybe join ambassador program, she said. Teach humans how to nap properly. You'll cause chaos. Progress often looks like chaos. She glanced at him. You coming? They'd lock me up again. You didn't hate it. He considered that. No, I didn't. The air between them held the easy warmth of two people who had learned more from laughter than lectures. When she finally stood to leave, she tapped his translator once, leaving a faint mark, a signature in alien code. Souvenir, she said. For when you forget we won. We. Team Edible. He groaned. Please never let that become official. Too late. She winked, wings rustling as she walked away. Later, Ethan recorded his final report. Containment experiment concluded. No hostilities, moderate sanity loss, significant cultural exchange. Recommendation: next time, schedule napping lessons before diplomacy sessions. He paused, added quietly, outcome, success, somehow. He signed it and leaned back, watching the viewport where a single shuttle streaked away, a trace of silver against the dark. Across the network, commentators argued whether the incident proved human adaptability or collective madness. Ethan thought both were true. The file closed with the same line he whispered to himself: they locked me in with a monster. She left me with a story. Humanity, still undefeated in finding trouble worth keeping.